We're breaking in with a special report. I'm Emily Leonard.
I'm Brett Thomas. The Kalamazoo County Sheriff is addressing the media right now about missing Dr. Teleka Patrick. She went missing weeks ago. So let's go live now to the Sheriff's Department and listen in.
Here's what we do know. Teleka Patrick came to Kalamazoo in July of 2013 to attend the Western Michigan University School of Medicine to do a residency in psychiatry. When interviewed by the school as to why she wanted to come to Western Michigan University, she indicated that she had a fiance and she wanted to be close to that person. On December 5th, 2013, Dr. Patrick worked her regular shift at the Borges Medical Center. Staff who interacted with her did not report anything unusual and say that she had conversations with fellow workers. One of them was that she disclosed she was going to go to Chicago on the upcoming weekend. She was going to visit a relative and go to church with them. Teleka stayed late for her shift and at 7:30 p.m. sought a ride from a fellow hospital worker. In the course of that conversation, she advised that she had lost her wallet and was in need of some money. The fellow worker gave her $100 and gave her a ride downtown. While en route, the fellow worker noted that the conversation was erratic and Teleka was acting, as the worker described, strange. Once downtown, Teleka requested to be dropped off at the Radisson Hotel. Teleka went inside, briefly walked around, and went to the counter and appeared to want to check into a room. She had no luggage or a purse and did not have any identification with her. Her behavior at the time seemed to be erratic to the point that an employee asked her if she was okay. Teleka eventually said that she needed a ride to Borges Hospital and they offered her a ride in their customer van. Teleka asked the hotel staff for a ride and they did give it to her. She said that she had things to pick up at Borges. She was offered the ride and they drove her to the front of the building on Old Borges. Once she got there, the van, she got out of the van, backing away from it, saying that she was sorry and that she can't go back with you, is what she told the driver. He thought that was odd. He watched her in the parking lot and she walked away and went towards a vehicle that later was described as possibly her 1997 Lexus. That's the vehicle we believe was in the parking lot at that time. The van driver watched that vehicle back out and pull away. The Radisson Hotel employee returned back to the hotel and was done at 8:01 p.m. 2 hours later, 10 p.m. Michigan time, the Indiana State Police received a call of a vehicle being driven erratically on I-94 in Indiana. The driving behavior was described as speeding up about 85 miles an hour, slowing down along the median, and passing vehicles. The driver was not described, only that there was one person in the vehicle, that being the driver. Eventually, the vehicle went off the road by about 40 feet. The Indiana State Police, not sure what had happened, were sent to the scene, as well as rescue was sent to the location at the 23-mile marker of I-94 in Indiana. Nobody could be located at the scene at that time. The Indiana State Police and the rescue workers searched the area around the vehicle. No one was found. In the vehicle was Teleka's wallet that contained $7, her identification, some credit cards, and miscellaneous car items. The keys were not with the vehicle, and the vehicle had a flat tire. There was no purse in the vehicle, but we also have no indication that Teleka carries a purse. The vehicle was towed on December 5th by the Indiana State Police. On December 6th, Teleka did not show up to work. The Western Michigan School of Medicine staff became concerned that she did not return their phone calls when they attempted to locate her. So on the evening of Friday, December 6, 2013, at 6:30 p.m., a staff member came to the Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Office to file a missing persons report. At that time the report was made, it was disclosed that Teleka told staff that she was driving a white rental. In fact, it said rental across the back of the vehicle, as her vehicle was in a shop due to some damage. No license plate was known on the rental by the staff or by the sheriff's office at that time. In the initial investigation, we were unable to locate Teleka Patrick. On December 10th, the sheriff's office was able to determine that Teleka's car had been out of the shop, and we found the license plate to that vehicle. We ran the license plate and found that it was impounded by the Indiana State Police on December 5th. Contact was made with the Indiana State Police, who returned to the scene and conducted a second, even more thorough search of the area. They checked all the motels, the rest areas, the hospitals, and all the stopping points in a very large diameter around the location of where the vehicle was found abandoned. They brought in a bloodhound, and several runs by the hound indicated that the driver of the vehicle walked to the edge of the roadway where the scent was lost. Their efforts turned up nothing at the scene. Since then, the FBI has also conducted a search of the air and ground, looking all around for any clues. The Kalamazoo County Sheriff's investigators believe that the person driving the vehicle was Teleka Patrick. This is based on the report that the motorist who reported the erratic driving and that there was only one person in the vehicle at that time. Additionally, a drive from Borges Medical Center to mile marker 23 in Indiana along I-94 is approximately 2 hours. And the last person believed to be driving the vehicle 2 hours earlier was Teleka. This is the last time anyone has reasonably seen Teleka Patrick, to our knowledge. When the sheriff's office began looking into the missing person report, it was clear that there were obstacles in the road. It was important to find out who placed those obstacles there. If someone else other than Teleka had, then we were sure that there would be a dangerous situation for her. If she'd placed the obstacles there herself, then she would be a voluntary missing person. What were the obstacles? The first, her cell phone. Teleka's cell phone was left in her locker at work. Also in her locker were her work identification, her smock, and pretty much anything that belonged to the hospital. That could lead someone to believe that she felt she wasn't coming back there. The next obstacle involved her financial resources. Teleka did not take credit cards that we know of with her, so there is no tracking of any financial data. Her banking accounts have also had no activity. The third obstacle was that her social media had been deleted. We needed to find out if she had done this herself or if someone else had done that. The sheriff's office knew of some things right away. We knew that there was a PPO against her that will be addressed later on. Our initial attention was drawn to the white-colored rental vehicle as the first source of trying to find where she was, rather than her Lexus, which may have delayed locating the vehicle in Indiana. It was also discovered along the way through interviews and investigations with the detectives. We've learned that there may have been some delusional behavior in the previous times, and that this wasn't a recent behavioral change. We learned that she had exhibited some behavior before, that in those cases she urgently left wherever she was. Whenever she would leave in the past, it would only be for a day or so, and in each case she checked into a motel or a hotel. It appeared that this pattern was repeating itself, and perhaps the resolution to the earlier disappearances would hold true again this time. None of the other incidents had been as long or to this magnitude. As more information was developed, such as the scene at the Radisson and the factual basis that surrounded the PPO, it was apparent that Teleka had some possible issues that she was managing, and that she was able to hide these incidents from other people convincingly. Let's address some of the details that have been reported by the media or the sheriff's office. The Lexus was in for repair. This is true. It was in for repair, but she retrieved it on December 3rd. The vehicle was in for minor body work. At the time she picked up the vehicle, Teleka was told that it had bad tires and that they should be replaced. We do not know if the vehicle went off the road because of a flat tire or received a flat tire because of going off the road. The mystery phone call that's been reported widely the Wednesday before she went missing. As much as it's been reported that she was distressed of it, none who were in the room in the meeting at the time which she took the phone call and she returned substantially say that she was distressed because of the phone call. That call was determined simply to be a family member reporting to her that they had arrived at a destination to put her mind at ease. Nothing else came from that phone call. Her apartment at Gull Run Apartment Complex has been searched by the detectives, and the apartment contents will not be discussed, but there was nothing in the apartment that was unusual, and her computers were seized at that time. Borges Hospital surveillance cameras, true they were not working the night that she went missing, but that would not give us any more information than we already have by an eyewitness that saw her leave into the parking lot and possibly get into her vehicle and drive away. The best photo of Teleka, we have a photo that we're going to hand out here to you today that's on a disc for your use that will give a better representation of what she normally looks like. One piece of information here that has come up a lot is Pastor Marvin Sapp. The pastor is nothing more than an innocent victim of an apparent stalking. The sheriff's office has been in contact with him for quite some time, and he has been thoroughly cooperative. Given the facts that he outlined in his PPO, he really had no choice but to seek the PPO in September of 2013. It has been determined or intimated in the media, and readers are concluding that Mr. Sapp may be a suspect in her disappearance. I will tell you right now, he is not a suspect in her disappearance. Any leads? Despite international media attention, the sheriff's office has received no leads that have panned out. A few tips have come in, and that they have been checked out, but they have been determined to be unproductive information. Teleka was not in Kalamazoo long enough to establish a social network or have many close friends, which are usually the avenue of obtaining investigative information and helping us seek a person. The social media. There's been much attention to the correspondence allegedly from Teleka. While there have been several claims of certain Twitters, tweets, and postings in the past, the sheriff's office requires proof or certification of authenticity. That information can only come from the social media services, and we have obtained that information through search warrants. We need that information so we can authenticate anything coming from Teleka's account. It should be noted that there has been no activity identified on the postings since her disappearance. This leads us to the question that we've been getting at the sheriff's office: is the social media a helpful situation in this case? Well, it is good information to put out there that someone is missing and to help us try to find information through those networks. But the information that has surfaced to this point from the social media has been hugely focused on Teleka's unusual behavior and not necessarily on finding her. The sheriff's investigation has long since crossed the bridge of her unusual behavior. We are looking for missing person information, not more information about erratic behavior. Lastly, the sheriff's office is repeatedly asked if we have an opinion on her welfare at this time. And what we'll say to that is that we constantly are in hope that if there are persons out there that know where she's at, that they contact the sheriff's office and they help us help the family put some of this to rest. Teleka Patrick is a very resourceful person, and we want to make sure that we recognize that. The sheriff's office believes that when she got into the car at Borges Hospital and left town, she did so on her own free will, and that she was headed to a relative's home in Chicago. What happened after her car went off the road, we do not know. And it's anyone's guess at this point. But she did not make it to that relative's house. We maintain the hope that and thought that someone is well aware of where she is and that they are helping her. The Kalamazoo Sheriff's Office will keep the Teleka Patrick missing persons case active and serve as a conduit working with the Indiana State Police and the FBI to continue this investigation. We will continue to contact agencies that may be in a jurisdiction that receive a viable tip to be followed up on and try to come to a good conclusion of this case. At that time, this concludes my information, and we will be able to take some questions. I will point to if you raise your hand for questions. And I have with me here today also Detective William Sparrow, who is one of the lead investigators of this case, as well as other command staff that are involved in this. And I will point out, too, that today our prosecutor, Jeff Getting, is here with us, and he's been advised of the goings-on of this case.
Sheriff, you said the prosecutor is here. Is there any indication that there's anything criminal related to this at this point?
At this point, we are not finding anything that would indicate that. Yes, sir.
Back at the scene where the car was found, was there anything inside the car that may have indicated a struggle, or that she may have been with somebody else, or that there was anything untoward that happened to her?
No, basically the information I gave about the items that were found in the car were the most significant thing for us. We found no scene in that vehicle. The vehicle was thoroughly inspected. It was our evidence crew, as well as anybody else related to the Indiana State Police, have gone through that vehicle and find nothing. Yes, sir.
The whole issue of checking different hospitals in the area, did you guys do that? And can you say if she was hospitalized for mental things in the past?
I cannot speak to her past as to what any hospitalization might be. I can tell you that we have been in contact, not only this agency, but the FBI and the Indiana State Police have been in contact with what we would identify as the hospitals in that area, and we have no information of her showing up to any of those hospitals. Yes, ma'am.
Have you checked homeless shelters or other places like that where maybe someone with mental issues might gravitate to?
Yes. Information has been sent out to all of these areas, and hopefully that at some point, if she is out there on her own, then somebody might recognize her from that information.
So you don't know that she has any ID, or were there any IDs that you know she might have had, like a passport or a California ID, or other resources? Had she withdrawn money recently from her bank account?
Right. Her bank accounts do not indicate any activity whatsoever right now, and so that is what we do know. We believe we know what IDs that she would have, but again, not everybody knows what somebody else has for an ID, and we're not finding anything else. Yes, ma'am.
Were there any surveillance cameras like along the highway that you guys have checked, or maybe
that
indication she got in somebody's car or something?
Right, asking about surveillance alongside the highway. We have found no surveillance alongside the highway. Again, we're working with the Indiana State Police and the FBI, relying on them to help us with that type of information. And we're not finding any photographs of her alongside the road or in the area.
Do you know how long it was between the time that they got the 911 call? The car might have gotten off the road at the time the police actually got there. I mean, how long of a window was there that she might have taken off? Or gotten picked up? Or...
It appears to be roughly a 20-minute period that they had received the first phone call to the point the car was actually found alongside the road.
Okay, but was there only one car call?
Right now there was one call talking about her erratic driving or the erratic driving of that vehicle, and then one more phone call saying that they had seen a car in the ditch.
And that was from the same person or a different person?
Different people.
Different people. So what was the window between the time of we saw a car in the ditch and the cops getting there?
It sounded like it was about 10 minutes.
About 10 minutes.
You talked about checking the hospitals. In your experience, would hospitals be able to or be required to tell you if she was there?
In our experience, the hospitals are generally very cooperative, especially in a case where we are looking for a missing person. They do have rules that they have to abide by, and we're confident that any information that we were able to glean from the hospitals is accurate information, and so we don't believe that they're holding any information due to a patient identity situation.
How's the FBI helped so far, specifically?
The FBI is working as a broader base of what anybody else could do. So, of course, they've put out the information through the networks, as well as making sure that we have the ability to go do some of these searches and to work with the Indiana State Police. It's a great combination of the three agencies.
Was there any indication that she was ever confronted by Marvin Sepp's staff? That was also talked about.
I have no information about that right now, no.
Any indication that he ever
corresponded with her?
No. In fact, right now it appears they've never corresponded. He has never corresponded back to her, is what we have indications. And in fact, we believe he's probably never met her or knew if he met her. Yes, ma'am.
So, did she ever violate the PTO that you know of?
Not that we know of.
That you know of. And was there any sense, some people have said that they're concerned that he's in danger, that she might be lurking somewhere to do something to him. Is there any concern about that, or is that on anybody's radar?
Nothing like that is on our radar right now. Again, we're focused on trying to find a missing person that we have concern for.
Are you still getting a lot of good tips coming in? And would you say all the attention to this is helping or hurting you guys?
That's the difficult part. We're not getting good tips. We're getting people believing that they have seen a person that they didn't recognize from before. We get into the area or we'll check things, and of course it's not related. To me, a good tip would lead us to another piece of information, and we've had no tips to lead us to another piece of information.
Just in relation to that, there was someone who was on a TV station saying, "Oh, I may have seen someone stopping and asking for direction, a Comfort Inn worker."
Mm-hmm.
Did that turn out not to be a credible tip?
Right. We have no credible tips at this point, but we do follow those tips up. So I'm trying to make sure people, we encourage people to still report them. We've received tips from different states, not even close to Michigan or Indiana, because somebody had felt that it was a suspicious situation and they thought it could be related, and they've been checked out to be nothing for this case. Yes, ma'am.
Had anything been going on, like we were talking about the erratic behavior that her coworker had reported the night that she went missing? Was there anything before that anybody told you guys about, like certain behavior that she had leading up to it that people thought was suspicious, either at work or outside of work?
We're focused on the time period of the week that she has gone missing. And so in that time period right there, we have just a few conversations that made people wonder what the thought process was, and then the behavior at the hotel, of course, is what we've noticed. But outside of that, I couldn't comment. Yes, sir.
Any other destinations other than Chicago that she had talked about in the past that she said she may want to go, or when she had disappeared before, had she gone someplace specifically?
It does not sound like she's ever gone somewhere specifically whenever there was an issue in the past, and I can tell you that there are family and friends throughout the nation, and that she's been to all of these different places and has spoke of going to those different places. But again, the week we are focused on, she did not talk about going to any of those locations. Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk again a little bit about the whole hotel trip and why she went there and why she didn't get a room?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Details surrounding that?
Yeah, first off, let me say that the staff at the Radisson Hotel have been very helpful throughout this investigation. And, you know, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have certain pieces. So I thank the Radisson and their staff for the diligence they've shown in this case. Indications were that she walked into the lobby, did not immediately go to the counter. The staff wasn't sure what this person wanted. They could see that she was looking around. They said that she came up to the counter, didn't really indicate she wanted a room, but acted like she wanted a room. So when they were talking to her, they found out that she didn't have enough money, she didn't have any identification to get in, and so when they said, well, we can help you go back and get these things, because she did talk about going back to Borges, that was pretty much the extent of it. But the one member at the desk, to start the conversation, asked her if she was okay, because again, she was standing there and not asking for a room, not saying what she needed, she was just standing there. Yes, ma'am.
We've been told that she had gone to the Radisson once before. Was it under similar circumstances? One of the PI, the first PI was that. So was that under similar circumstances? She was able to book a room that first time?
I don't know about the first time itself. I won't speak to that because I'm talking about what we have right here.
Has she gone missing in Kalamazoo before?
She's never been reported missing anywhere.
Well, you said there had been times where she would, it sounded like that she would behave a little strangely, she would have delusions, she'd go off for a day or two, and then she would come back and be okay, I guess. Is that what you're saying?
That is what we're saying.
Did that ever happen during her 6 months in Kalamazoo?
Where that happened, I don't have that right here this minute.
Okay.
Why hold the news conference now? Why wait until 45, 46 days, 40 plus days?
Well, from the beginning, we have received a lot of phone calls with questions from the media and very little help in actually locating this person, meaning tip-wise. So it got to a point where we felt that we were not receiving the information we needed, and we didn't want to put speculation out there in the early times just to make sure people understood that we have a missing person we are looking for. Through the investigation, you remember there was a point where we said that we would put no more information out for a while because, again, it was the same thing over and over, people wanting to talk about the different media outlets or social media. And we wanted to make sure that the investigation was focused on finding this missing person. So we are at a point now where we are confident that this person, to our knowledge, is not in some hospital, is not someplace where we can reach out and identify, and so we are asking again for more help in the locating of this missing person.
The private investigator, how helpful has he been? How closely have you worked with him?
We'll always work with whoever the family wants us to work with, and remember they're now on a second private investigator from what I understand, and so both of them have been involved with us to some level, and I believe we've been more of the information network to them than they have been to us. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. Going back to when you said she had been missing before, you said you don't know when, but where did that happen? And do you know like how many times she had gone missing before? And what was her pattern? Like she would go to a hotel and stay for 2 days. They knew where she was, or she wouldn't tell anybody where she was going, and she would go off before.
That's something I would have to ask our detective. Do we have a pinpoint where we can say how often or where that happened? This is Detective Bill Sparrow.
Some of this pattern has actually started out in California, so we're going back some time, not just here in Kalamazoo. We believe there may have been an incident prior to in Kalamazoo. As far as the earlier time frame for the Radisson, we believe that is when she came for her orientation through Western Michigan University.
So that wasn't.
It was not related to this, and that was months earlier before she even moved to Kalamazoo.
Did she ever use an alias those other times when she was gone?
Not that we know of. And I think getting back to the other question, that yes, some friends or associates did know of her whereabouts.
During the time that she was missing?
Yes, but as far as the behavior that we've all seen or have experienced this time, she has exhibited the same behavior on those other incidences.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said the last time she stayed in Radisson, she was only when she was here during orientation. She hadn't moved here yet. She came and stayed here during orientation, then went back, and then moved back later.
Yeah, she came for like a day or whatever through the orientation, probably, the typical college. Yes.
And you may be the wrong people to ask this, but if she had, people are saying, well, she seemed to be exhibiting delusional behavior, and other people would say, well, there are times where she'd gone up missing, yet she'd never been diagnosed with a mental illness, or she wasn't getting any kind of treatment. I mean, nobody was raising red flags about, maybe.
There is no diagnosis associated with her health, her mental health, and that's why we're cautious to make sure people understand that some of the behavior we've seen appears erratic or possibly delusional, and again, there is no diagnosis.
Right, and I understand that. But I mean, you don't know if anybody had suggested that she get help, or that there had been some discussion of that there were...
Right, we don't have any information about what somebody else might have wanted to offer up for her. You had a question here real quick.
The stalking with Marvin Sapp, is there any indication that this happened with anybody else ever?
I would just say that there's other individuals with a similar type of things of followings, but never went to the degree that Teleka Patrick went to, of actually going to the house. There's other people that are infatuated with Dr. Marvin Sapp, but she took it to the next step, so therefore felt the PPO.
And I guess I mean the other way.
Right.
Teleka stalking anyone else?
No, there is no indications at this time.
had,
Right back here.
I just want to ask the detective, is this case pretty unusual? Are you approaching this as she's trying not to be found, or, I mean, 6 weeks with no ID, no phone, no wallet, I mean, how is she staying, if she's not trying to be found, how is she staying hidden?
I would say obviously the behavioral issues cause us problems, the gray areas that you got to try to get through. So that throws up some roadblocks. So under normal circumstances, as some of the things that's pointed out, you would say, yes, she intended to leave here. However, in this situation, you truly can't say that. I mean, all avenues are open to us.
The stretch of road where her car was found, is it true that that area is notorious for sex trafficking? And if so, or if not, is that a concern for you all?
That would always be a concern for us, but that is not information that I'm really willing to discuss at this time because that's not been shared with me to that point. We have been in the area. It is an area that is like many others along I-94. There's a population area, there's a business area, there's a lot of traffic. So that would be for Indiana or the FBI the answer, not us. You've had a question that's been...
You talked early on about this idea that either she's wanting not to be found or that something really bad has happened to her. Have you decided which way you think this has gone?
What we have said from the beginning is that our ears are open to any possibilities, our eyes are open for any information, and we will not make a decision on that point until we have more information. So right now we are constantly seeking more information about the missing person we hope to return to their family.
Was she on any medication that you know of that she might be missing?
I wouldn't speak to her medications or anything like that. Yes, ma'am.
Had Marvin's staff ever contacted the Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Office before he filed the PPO up in Grand Rapids? Had you guys ever had any contact with him about her behavior prior to that? And had she ever had any contact with the police prior to that you know of, prior to the PPO?
She's had no contact with the sheriff's office prior to the PPO, or prior to her missing. We've never had contact with her, actually. Yes, ma'am.
How did you find out about the PPO?
When we put her information in lien, it showed in lien. Again, we're not speculating as to why she moved here other than to go to school here in Kalamazoo. Really, there was no indication as to who the fiancé was. That was just information that was given during an interview. Yes, sir.
You've been listening to a live press conference out of the Kalamazoo Sheriff's Department. A lot of this we've heard from the sheriff, Richard Fuller, about information about missing woman, Dr. Teleka Patrick.
Missing since December 5th here. This is the first time, though, where they've held a news conference to go over every single detail that they have in the case to reinforce some information they need to get out to the public as far as finding Teleka Patrick, but also to dispel anything that they might consider to be non-factual.
I think the first thing we heard in this news conference that was new is that she told administrators or people at WMU that she wanted to come to that school because she had a fiance in the area and she wanted to be close to that person.
Which we don't believe she did have.
Correct.
A fiance in this area at that point in time anyway. Which is just goes on to kind of feed into some of the other questions that have been raised here in this case. One thing, several things. We learned actually several really interesting things. One of them is that she has had cases like this before. They say that it might have happened in California. It happened last summer when she was out in Kalamazoo for orientation. In all those cases, they had said earlier in the news conference that she would have some kind of delusional episode, let's just call it that, and would end up at a hotel room and may have been able to kind of control herself that way, work her way through whatever that episode may have been, that erratic behavior. In this case, though, she ends up at a hotel room, this one at the Radisson in Kalamazoo, can't get the room, and gets in her car, which makes you wonder if she just got in that room, if we wouldn't be even bothering with looking for Teleka Patrick right now.
Exactly.
Because
We
she would have been able
understand.
to work through it.
Yeah, and the Kalamazoo sheriff giving a lot of credit to the employees of the Radisson in downtown Kalamazoo, saying they worked with them very well on this case, and saying actually the first person that she approached at the desk there in the lobby at the Radisson asked her if she was okay, because she came into the lobby and she wandered around for a while, not really saying she needed a room, not really saying what she was looking for.
Yeah, certainly not intending to impugn the staff of the Radisson. The sheriff did say that they had done a phenomenal job, really, and they went well beyond what they needed to do by giving her a ride back to Borges.
But then she told that driver that she was sorry, and she backed away from him and told him that she could not go back with him.
Yeah, which the driver
Interesting
thought.
behavior.
Yeah, which led the driver to also continue to watch her and saw her drive off in that vehicle.
Right.
Then the next time that vehicle is seen, not Teleka Patrick, is a few hours later in Indiana along the side of I-94. And that's another little point that we got out of this, is that there was a really small span of time, really, less than 20 minutes between the time somebody called in and said they saw the car driving erratically and the next person called and said they saw the car on the side of the road. So all of this had to transpire. Teleka drives a car, somehow gets a flat tire possibly, ends up on the side of the road, leaves the vehicle, and then walks to the edge of the road, and that's the last point that the dogs were able to track her to. So where'd she go after that?
Exactly. No activity on her bank accounts, her financial data. Social media had been deleted before she disappeared. They're trying to figure out if she did that or if somebody else did that.
Yeah. One point that they did make here is that they don't suspect any criminal activity here. This is still a missing persons report, essentially, and they're going to keep this case open. One other thing that needs to be pointed out here is there's been all sorts of speculation made by various groups on the internet that may have some kind of connection to Pastor Marvin Sapp. And the sheriff made it very clear, no bones about it here, Pastor Sapp is not involved in this in any other way than just being an innocent victim of stalking.
Of stalking, yeah, saying he is not a suspect, and they have been in contact with him for a long time about this case, and he's been very cooperative, and he is not a suspect.
Yeah, so I mean, in a lot of cases here, clearing up a lot of information here, also bringing some new information to the table, and then continuing to ask a lot of the same questions, though. You know, we spent a good 40 minutes listening to the sheriff kind of outline all the things that have happened here over the course of the last month and a half, and we basically still have the same question.
Yeah, one of the really interesting points I thought was brought up in a question, what about those hospitals? They've been checking with hospitals all along the way. The hospitals are saying, we haven't seen her. Well, are the hospitals holding anything back because of the laws that they have to follow? Would they hold anything back? And they are confident they're not holding anything back because they work very well with police in missing people, in missing persons situations. So they're confident they're getting the truth from hospitals. She's not in a hospital somewhere.
Yeah, we just don't know where she could be. The FBI conducting air and ground searches as well here. So that entire area where that vehicle was found has been just scoured. And they have come up with nothing, essentially. They do believe, though, they know where she was headed. That's one of the questions that we had been asking here. And they believe that she was headed to Chicago to a relative's house. Quite possibly she had told some coworkers that she was going to go to church with them the next day, or that weekend anyway, and never made it there.
Also, it sounds like she's been...
Appeared like she wanted some assistance.
Are we checking back in with the news conference?
And they thought had erratic behavior, so they were trying to figure out what it was going to take to help that person. Yeah, that day is the first, or at that time is the first anybody said something like a behavioral issue with her. Couldn't tell you, I just know that she worked the day shift.
We've had a little bit of difficulty with some of our audio issues here as we've come back to this news conference here. So we're just going to continue here from what we've been able to hear during the news conference earlier today. And one interesting thing, Emily, that I thought came out of this whole news conference was that they say that she had told her fellow worker that she lost her wallet. This is when she needed that ride to the Radisson. And the worker gave her $100 during the ride. And then when they found her wallet, or pardon me, found her car, they found $7 in her car at the time. So there are $93 that are unaccounted for here, between that 2-hour span approximately, from the Radisson to the car being found in Indiana. So $93, where'd they go? What'd she use them for? And I would imagine if she'd purchased gas at some point that the sheriff would have probably told us that, because they would have some kind of record of it, right?
Absolutely.
Although it is cash. I mean, just so many questions, though, that just continue to come out of this whole thing.
Let's go to the newsroom now. 24-hour News 8 Susan Shaw is live in the newsroom with what we're going to be working on for noon here. Sue?
Well, Brett and Emily, we of course have several crews at that news conference right now gathering details, and there's certainly a lot of unanswered questions about this missing persons case in Teleka Patrick. 24-hour News 8's Mark Thompson will be live at noon. He'll be breaking down the main points of the investigation, and there are many. Also, our own Leon Hendricks is getting one-on-one interviews. He's tracking down those connected to this case right now. We're also working to get in touch with the family. Again, we'll be bringing you live coverage. Of course, it's beginning at noon, 5, and 6 as information develops throughout the day. We do have a lot of information coming in with this news conference, more still coming in at this time. If you missed any of the news conference, that we do have a full story for you going on right now at woodtv.com. A lot of information. Our reporters are there at the news conference. They're tweeting from the news conference. All you do is have to go to @News8 on Twitter. So we have it covered. We've got team coverage. We'll have a lot coming up at noon. We'll be tracking it throughout the day, and we'll bring you the very latest details. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Sue.
Yeah, well, once again here, if you know anything about this case, contact the Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Department, contact Michigan State Police, contact Indiana State Police, or the FBI even. There are
Call
all
911.
sorts of,
Yep.
Silent Observer, all sorts of conduits to get some information back to the people who are desperately trying to find Teleka Patrick.
We'll continue to cover this more at woodtv.com, and of course, as Susan said, at noon. We're going to return now to regular programming.